Welcome back. Affordability, housing, mobility. Those are the three things that dominate what the mayor of Halifax has been thinking about since he's been elected. Andy Fillmore outlined his priorities as he delivered his first State of the Municipality speech today. And in it, he said the city just can't keep doing things the way they are. And his worship joins us now in studio. Nice to see you.
Good to be with you, Todd. Thank you.
Always good to get that first one out of the way.
Absolutely, yeah. It was a big preparation for that one, and it was a full room today, and it felt really good.
I'd like to touch on each of those three tenets that you brought up. And the first one dealing with affordability. City Council just passed a budget, $1.3 billion operating, another $300 million for capital. Taxes will increase slightly, about $120 per household. But you made the remark that homeowners and businesses have no room left to be taxed. So that means the city's going to have to pay or spend less.
Spend less and find more diversified sources of revenue to make sure that we can continue to pay the costs of that accrue to a growing municipality, like more transit, projects like the Windsor Street Exchange. So we have to keep the tax rate steady and level and fair. But as I mentioned in the State of the Municipality address today, in Halifax, we're about 82% of our annual budget comes directly from the tax rate, stacked up against other Canadian cities. For example, Calgary's down at around 45, Edmonton's at 59. So we have a lot of work to do to diversify our revenue sources so that we're less reliant on the tax rate.
What about in terms of City Hall spending? What do you look at? You've been in the chair for a few months now that you see and think, okay, there's an area that we can find some efficiencies.
Well, efficiency is really the word. So we have a very large staff, over 4,000 people working at the municipality, and my next area of focus is going to be on, are we making sure that all of those staff are directing their energies and the resources that they have at their disposal toward the delivery of the core services that residents deserve and expect. And I talked about engaging a external third-party value-for-money audit for the municipality, which I intend to proceed with this year, that will help us to locate some of those efficiencies and also to make sure that the programs that we are engaged in and funding are effective.
Do you think the civil service in Halifax is too big?
I'm not in a position to have an answer for that yet. This audit's going to help us to understand that. But even so, I'm not interested in layoffs or anything like that. I am interested in knowing if we can redeploy human and financial resources in a more effective way to deliver the services that people need.
You also talked about setting up an AI task force. What would that look like?
Well, during the election campaign, when I became mayor, I was looking at cities across the country to see what they were doing with these opportunities that are literally growing by the day to use AI, machine learning, the vast reservoirs of data that the city has. And so we found cities that were using AI to identify and prioritize pothole filling. We saw cities that are using AI and machine learning to improve transit service. But as I said today, there are the things we don't know. And that's what the task force is really all about. I believe we have enormous data, and how we use that data with AI is going to be the answer I'm looking for.
Another area that you're particularly close to is housing, being an urban planner. You mentioned that you can't raise a family in a housing policy. There's been a lot of talk about housing.
Yes, we are in a housing crisis, and we have not been able to speed up the delivery of homes at the rate that we need to close our 30,000 home gap that we have in the municipality right now. We need to be building around 8,000 homes per year. Last year, 2024, we just cracked 3,000. So we clearly have some work to do. So talking about policies isn't getting us where we need to go. We need to change the way that we're measuring our progress to actual occupancy permits, not zoning permissions. So we have a lot of work to do, but there is a very willing private sector out there. There are new technologies like mass timber, factory-built, prefabricated homes with factories that are not working full shifts every day of the week that are waiting to, but because of some policy blockages, they can't run at full steam. So there are some simple things we can do to get that going.
And one of those you mentioned, that housing could look different, and that could mean building on slabs as opposed, because right now you have to build on a foundation. There has to be
in most parts of the municipality, if you want to put a prefab home on your lot, you need a full poured foundation, and that can range right up to $40,000, $50,000 $30,000. So that's just adding to the cost of the homes when these homes are perfectly able to be placed on a slab.
Another thing you mentioned was about having lands available to build on that. I'll ask about a couple things that have been in the news lately, and that's those abandoned schools. One not far from where we're sitting at Bloomfield School, and then one closer to downtown, St. Patrick's, Alexandra. Where do those sit? There's demolition work being done at Bloomfield. Is the city or taxpayers on the hook to have that cleanup?
So in both of those cases, both of those schools, they're in private ownership now. The city sold those under a previous council with something called a buyback clause. So if the conditions of the sale, that is, build housing on those sites by a certain deadline, aren't met, we can buy the land back at the price that we bought it for. We sold it for back a number of years ago. The demolitions are evolving because of the fires. In each case, the property owners are paying for the demolition. I mean, the fire department incurred some costs for demolition, to keep their firefighters safe. But no, those costs accrue to the owners.
Okay, I got about a minute left. I want to ask you about what was the biggest topic for people in the last municipal election, and that was gridlock in transit. Yeah. And you addressed both of those. That is a tough ship to turn. What is the first priority? You mentioned the Windsor Street Exchange in Halifax, but what was the first thing that Haligonians are going to see that will move them quickly?
The bus rapid transit system will roll out very quickly. We need to get that. We've got to prioritize that. We have a new transit director with the city now, and I have high ambitions for him, and I'm in conversations with him fairly regularly about getting that BRT system rolling. But if we can provide a credible, on-time transit service that people enjoy riding on, that is easy to use, and that's on time, people will move from their cars back into buses, and that will ease congestion. That, in combination with some major infrastructure projects, like you mentioned, the Windsor Street Exchange, which will remove that traffic light from the middle of the intersection.
No mention today about electric ferries. Is that on the back burner? Is that going to happen?
We have a plan in place for an electric ferry. We're going to see how the funding partners come to the table with that, whether it's electric, whether it's that particular route, whatever it might be. I'm very interested in many more ferries, whether they're small or large, aqua shuttles, water buses, crisscrossing the harbor, Shannon Park, Herring Cove, McNabb's Island. We can also solve gridlock by putting boats on the harbor.
Mayor Andy Fillmore, thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thanks for coming in. We'll take a break. We'll be right back.